I feel as if Central and Eastern Europe get the short end of the stick when it comes to discussions around urban planning and public transit. In my personal experience, many people seem to think that the cities are full of commie blocks and the infrastructure is falling apart, when the reality is very different. So, in the interest of providing something a bit new and novel, let's look into the Budapest public transit system. I'd like to preface by saying that I have only been a tourist to Budapest. I've never lived there, and so I can only say so much, although I have had extensive experience with the public transit network in that time, as I cannot medically drive. So I was relying on it a great deal when I did visit. If you do live in Budapest, or Warsaw, or Bucharest, or another city formerly of the Warsaw Pact or Soviet Union, I would really love to hear from you in the comments about how public transit is where you live, because I know that some places took the public transit system a lot differently. Let's start where I've got the most experience and familiarity, the Budapest Metro. Today, the metro system has 4 lines, each of which are color-coded: yellow, red, blue, and green. Across all 4 lines, you will find 52 stations, with a total length of 39.4 kilometers. The system was inaugurated first with Line 1 in the late 19th century. Today, this line is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, although thankfully there have been many upgrades to the rolling stock. I believe they retained much of their old appearance, but the interiors are certainly very modern. The most recent line to enter service on this network was in 2014 after 8 years of construction, and if memory serves, is fully automatically operated. There is no conductor in the train, or at least there is none necessary. When I go to Budapest, I tend to either stay with family in the suburbs or go into Octagon, so most of my experience is with Line 1 and Line 2. I found the transfers to be fairly easy, and the integrated tram network helped out a lot as far as getting where I needed to go. I will say that the ticket price seems to have gone up since I last visited. In 2022, if memory serves, it was around 3,500 forint, which is at $11 given today's exchange rate. One thing I can say that has definitely improved since my first visit in 2011 when I was a kid was that the announcements at metro stations are a lot clearer and in English now. Many stations will have announcements first in Hungarian, then in English. So as an example, one of the terminal stations for Line 1 will say, "Ez az Mexikói utca kerület." This is Mexico Utca Station, please get off the train. And the announcements are loud enough that anyone can hear them regardless of where they happen to be in the station. I remember as I was exiting the platform to transfer over to the tram network, I could still hear that announcement ringing in the back of my head. Every great Central European city has a tram line, and Budapest is no exception. The tram line in Budapest, also called light rail, is 174 kilometers in length, has 38 different lines, and serves 680 different stops around the city. While this map is great at giving a broad overview, I really don't know how you could do the whole thing justice. It opened approximately 20 years before the metro and has since expanded a great deal. Something I distinctly remember as a kid was the Tatra and Graz trams that operated on the network. Those things were just very iconic to me. I really remember those, and I was fortunate enough to find several when I went back in 2022. I know that they're very old and they, need some refurbishment, but they got character. They really got character. Fortunately, I didn't just ride CKD or Tatra trams. I was also able to ride the more modern rolling stock that exists. I found that to be extremely comfortable, convenient, and quite pleasant. There wasn't a lot of outside noise, and at least from my brief experience, I was able to get from Nemzeti Liget or the central Budapest Park over to one of the major malls within the city, or I believe it's right outside of the city. Again, the tram network goes everywhere, and it's hard to tell when you don't live in the city proper where exactly the city ends with the tram network that's so expansive. Lastly, let's discuss the bus network and my experiences with buses in Budapest. I found there to be two distinct experiences between being in the central city and being on the outskirts, which I'm sure is to be expected. The first experience I had with the central city bus network was around Hősök tér, the Serbian embassy area, the areas around Nemzeti Liget and the University, Eötvös-Loránd, and the Parkmátház. I found these areas to be very reliable, very convenient, very safe, very comfortable, not nearly as packed, but still very packed with tourists. I found the stations to be very well marked. You could see clearly where you needed to wait for the bus and when it would arrive. The situation in the outskirts of the city, however, was very different. And I guess, again, it's to be expected. It's the outskirts. But the experience was one of a lot of overcrowding and confusion. When we arrived to the bus junction, it wasn't really clear where we would need to go in order to reach our suburban or less central destination. When it came time to announce the bus stop at the station we needed, the red button would not operate or it was not pressed, and so there was some confusion over whether the bus would even stop at that station, despite announcing it would stop at that station. And so ultimately the bus did not drop myself and others I was with off at the station we needed. Instead, we were dropped off several kilometers down the road. It wasn't a huge problem, but in the moment, the stress and the other anxieties of travel were getting to people. And so I distinctly remember that as kind of a negative experience. I'd like to summarize by saying that I feel the system overall is convenient, affordable, and clean compared to its US counterparts. I'm not sure how it compares to Berlin or Paris. I've never been to those cities, but I feel that for Central Europe, Budapest is a very good choice, whether you're trying to just have a quick vacation for a week or two, or whether you would like to actually settle down and live in the city. The public transit system has very good bones, and it's a place that I could see myself living if I was ever afforded such an opportunity. Having first visited the country in 2011, I feel that I can definitely see the changes and progress being made over time, and I hope such progress continues. If you've had experiences living in Budapest or traveling in Budapest or other similar cities, please let me know in the comments down below, and I encourage you to subscribe for more transit-related content.